Hello everyone, I'm Anthium, this is TwoTales, and today I'm going to be showcasing and comparing some of my favorite modern day gaming collectibles, steelbooks, and a few actual obscure movie references for steelbook collectors as well. We'll be starting with, of course, Streets of Rage, which is the newest one to my collection, because I should not have rushed through the unboxing of the game, because there's a lot of little nifty things there. We're going to go through some obscure references and then the actual comparisons, and we're going to end with this beast of a collector set back here, because while it may not be the best piece of art, it by far is the best execution of the steelbook in my opinion. But before we get there, a word from our sponsors. Introducing Lady Calicorn and her Lego unicorn.
Dun, 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 dun.
What makes your unicorn special? Got magic eyeballs, huh? Do the eyeballs pop out of the unicorn's head? Can the unicorn see invisible items?
I wouldn't say that.
So what would you say?
I would say the unicorn can fart rainbows.
So the unicorn farts rainbows and can look behind its own head. That's pretty cool. Where'd you get the idea for your Lego pony from?
I don't know. I just made up this game and then I thought of a rainbow sword, but I'm like, if it's a rainbow sword, why isn't there a unicorn for the character?
So the person gets a rainbow unicorn or a unicorn that farts rainbows that can see behind its own head and wields a rainbow sword.
Well, it makes sense that I can see behind its head because in usual games, the screen is, you can see behind you too inside games, some of them, and even behind you.
Okay.
Full screen view.
Right.
So I just thought it would make sense to do that, and I also didn't have any other way to do it, so.
Okay. All right, so you're at about 1 minute. Is there anything else you'd like to tell people about your Lego pony?
I like it.
Okay, coming up next is going to be Streaky Bacon showcasing how you should be playing Streets of Rage 4. Rampage some more?
Yeah.
Off for a moment, please. So how does your rampage go again? And then what happens? Does Axel go dubba dubba dee? One last rampage really loud. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. I certainly did, and it turns out the magical unicorn's head comes off. It's a little horrifying, but when you have a flying horse head that can see behind itself.
It comes off.
Okay. All right, so I wanted to start with Streets of Rage, because like I said, I rushed through the unboxing, and I missed a few things that were actually very, very nifty. Like, for example, so you have, of course, the actual case box art. However, you can actually pop that open, and there's an alternative master drive artwork on the inside. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a bigger fan of the red one because it doesn't block the characters, and they're spaced out really evenly and really well. Whereas on the inside, they put in the logo for the game, and they had to shift Cherry over to the side. And I'll be honest, Cherry actually, I didn't think I was going to like the character, but Cherry is a lot of fun to play. Very nimble character.
I think the only character that can run in Streets of Rage is Cherry.
As far as I know, yes. Unless you can unlock skates, but technically skates. All right, but that was not actually the only artwork. The actual case itself, the actual case from the actual Switch case, I should say, had an alternate cover on the inside as well. Now, I like the monochromatic art, the single or dual tone art forms where you're just using really two colors or varied shades. I'm very preferential to it, and of course, it has the bare knuckle 4 versus the actual Streets of Rage, which was the title over in Japan where the game originally started, if you weren't aware of it. And of course, comparatively speaking, you have, you know, Master Drive system, or should I say, here you go, the actual Sega cover, which you would have seen in the US, versus this artwork. And I'll be honest, I think I like the layout of this one, done in almost like a storybook format, versus the dual column artwork on this. But we're actually here to take a look at the Steelbook in comparison to the various covers here. Now, I would like Steelbooks because not only do they feel more solid, the Steelbooks themselves tend to have a certain gloss shine to it, because you can actually two-tone it. If you actually look at the lighting here, you have a gloss finish across here and a matte finish across the actual background. And the art itself, which again, this is the Roman mechanic. This right here caught my attention with the original game. It also opens up like a book, so you have this spine that can be, you know, artworked as well. Now, the interior artwork for Streets of Rage is pretty solid. I'm going to talk about some things in regards to the game in just a moment, but here we go. Basically a zoom out of the actual cover with a cityscape, which the cityscape is barely in the background here. It's very blacked out, but there's the buildings there. Now, a quick comment. Something that's been lost, I think, in the production, and I'm talking about the comic books, movies, and so forth, is the concept of editing. I don't know if you can see this clearly, but they do an entirely different font. The smaller letters are all crammed together. And then it was really funny, after I saw this, I found a typo in one of the new toys for my kids. But Streets of Rage, the collector set, did come with a number of different arts. But again, the Steelbook just really stands out in stark. And I'll talk about why I like Steelbooks more in a little bit. Did you want to say something, Callie? No? Now, let's put this right over here. Now, something that's unique about the actual Steelbook for Streets of Rage 4 is the Steelbook is actually much smaller than typical Steelbooks. It's actually the size of a Switch case. I don't think that a Sega or Xbox version would have had the smaller Steelbook. So, generally speaking, I think that's actually a very nice touch. Again, big fan of the two-tone monochromatic colors there. So from here, we're going to move on to some obscure single style boxes in just a moment. I got my stacks mixed up because not you. Okay, here we go. I'll have to edit all this fumbling out later. Okay. So from here, some single things. Now, it turns out if you really look for it, Steelbooks are not just for the video gamer. You can get Steelbooks for actual movies. And if anyone has seen the actual CG Resident Evil movies, not the live action ones, these movies are really, really good. But this showcases a little bit of what I like about Steelbooks in that the pictures can be almost, okay, it doesn't really show it that well here. This one's a little bit beat up, but of course it's a Resident Evil in the sense that it looks like it's a destroyed area in the first place. But so movies have gotten in on it. I completely forgot that we had this one. Don't know if you guys have caught the Dracula Untold movie. It kind of mixes history with the legend to at least some degree. But generally, cinematic-wise, it's a very good movie. Leaves you with a bit of a cliffhanger. But here we go. If you actually open it up and look across the spine of the movie here, like the spine of a book, you can see the bat swarm. And as such, this single case becomes one giant picture or portrait. And of course, the solid casing allows you to stand them up a lot like books. Okay, so you want to hold that one out? Of course, I'm a huge Wreck-It Ralph fan. I loved the first movie. I was in the drawing for the arcade cabinet. I had a digital CD. Of course, that was before I dumped soda on my last computer. And what I have to say about this one is, in most sense, in a lot of sense, you're out of the picture frame. Got to hold it up, sweetheart. If you're a huge Wreck-It Ralph fan, I highly recommend it. However, if you're not a fan of the series, you probably could skip on it. But this one is actually just kind of a cute cover between the original two and then some new characters that actually show up. But the details, which are hard to see on camera, it's like a circuit board in the background. This was actually part of a collector set my wife got me close to my birthday, I believe.
It was actually milk, though. It was milk and soda.
No, I destroyed 2 computers, sweetheart.
Oh.
All right.
You destroyed one with milk that you let me drink.
Right. Now, the last one that we have that's a bit of an oddity is actually my wife's Modern Warfare 2 game. I can't remember where she got this one, but this is another one that actually opens up and you see have a complete running graphic across the whole thing. Of course, it's very stark in the fact that you have the blacks and whites, again, the monochromatic theme that I like. But you also, again, have that matte area versus the actual more reflective area. This is just a really nice stylized casing. Now, from here, we're going to get into... Actually going to start with another one from my wife's collections, Resident Evil 2. Now, this is actually, she got the deluxe edition. This is the actual cover. But, of course, this was another one of those that had the dual cover inserts, which is a kind of an homage to the original game. And, again, let me pull it out here. You have this running picture across the whole thing, which is something I like. But, of course, here's what you have traditionally. And I understand why this is needed when it comes to game boxes. It gives some game footage, gives some background, a little tease, just trying to get people in, and shows a bunch of stats and so forth. So we'll be getting into that in just a moment. But we're going to do this little side-by-side comparison here. And then this is the Steelbook. Now, I put this up first because, namely, one, this is, of course, my wife's set. But at the same time, it's probably the most bland of all the steelbooks that we actually have. Now, here's a drawback to steelbooks. If you don't take care of them, you have a bunch of small kids, they're actually pretty easy to scratch and damage. So they're a type of collectible that you really have to tend to. Well, I stand corrected. So it does actually have a burning city on the inside of it. There's probably Raccoon City there. All right. Did you want to...
Raccoon City is featured in many of the games.
Okay. No. We go straight down the stack, okay? Thank you. All right. And, of course, in that same vein, yes, pun intended, Resident Evil 3. Again, part of my wife's collection here. Again, typical cover actually has... One second. I'll let you let me know when you have something you want to say, and I'll let you jump in. Now, this one does not have the inside art, and it doesn't have the run-on picture format because they're trapped in that we have to put the game information here. And again, I'll address this specifically a little bit later. But in comparison, put that over there, the Resident Evil 3. Now, they followed the same approach as they did in Resident Evil 2. You have one of the key monsters right there in the front. Nemesis plays a big role in Part 3, like zombies play a big role in Part 2. Of course, the back is not just the Umbrella logo. You actually get Jill Valentine, star of the game. It's a great picture of her. The Burning City skyline in the background was on the inside of the other case. So it's actually a really good continuation from one case to the other. And it's only when you get these collector boxes that you actually get that level of detail. Okay, what did you want to say, Callie? Did you forget it? We were talking about Resident Evil 3 in Raccoon City. It's okay.
Oh, my mom has been wanting to get this for a while, and she had to wait. Like, how long was it? A year?
Yeah, she pre-ordered it really early. Okay, now I got a little bit of flack for this one, but I've made no bones about it. I am very much an Anthem fan. I actually was tracking Anthem when I found out about it through Game Informer. I was tracking Anthem well over a year in advance. Was one of my longest game tracks because I try not to get that heavily invested in something. And I was there through all the mess in the beginning. And I still play, actually. I thought I was going to be a huge Interceptor main, but it turns out I'm more of a Colossus fellow. Now, in this particular case, between console to console, you don't have a whole lot of variance other than color. And, of course, smaller frames here, because you have the large Xbox frame, because Xbox likes to slather their logo right across the top of the box. But the artwork is the same here. So from there, we wind up with the steelbooks. And that's right, we got one for each one. Now, I like Anthem, and I like this, the way this captures the gameplay. Yes, Callie?
I'm more of a Storm person than any other of them.
Yes, she likes the Storm. Because you get the Ranger Javelin here, and you have all the Javelins flying out to a mission down here in the bottom with this great horizon. But the artwork doesn't really carry over to the back. You get stylized icons or logos of or silhouettes of the different javelins in the game. Yes, there's Callie's Storm in the bottom. This is me up here. I like the big boy. And of course, there's not much going on with the spine. So generally, let's compare cover to cover here. So Steelbook compared to the actual cover art. You have the same art in this particular case. However, you get a lot more, as in this is larger. The colors are, of course, glossed, not with an actual film over it like this particular one. So it makes everything brighter. It pops and stands out more. And you don't have all that extra branding and logos and, you know, ESRB. You don't have all of that really obscuring your view. That's a big reason why I do like the Steelbooks is when you have covers that are the same, you don't have all this extra stuff. Because the reality matters, if you were to treat this like a book, you could actually have the name of the book, the author, and some general information on the spine, which they generally do. You have, of course, the publisher, you have the designer on the spine here, you know, BioWare and EA, and the name of the cover there. And at the very top, you could totally put the platform, you know, Xbox, PlayStation, whatever have you, and leave this all open. And as far as putting all the game information on the back, again, I will be addressing that here shortly. So let's move on to something I'm a big fan of. Thank you very much, Miss Callie.
I'd say bigger than Anthem.
Yes, I enjoy this game much more than I do Anthem. I am curious on what they're doing with Anthem 2.0. Did I tell you that they're remaking the game?
No.
Yep, Anthem's getting a remake. Doom is a whole heck of a lot of fun. It really expands the lore of the game. And I have a funny story for this, because while we have Doom, I have both one case. Actually, let me do it this way.
And two cases.
And a second case. Now, the reason this is funny is before Doom came out and we started getting the pre-order in, it was right when COVID really shut down things here in my area. And Best Buy, who I ordered from, mailed this in the mail. I got this, and then they canceled it because they weren't going to get a copy in. So I got my Steelbook, and then I didn't get the game. And then my wife was able to pre-order, but we had to go all the way out to an entirely different location hours away to actually pick the game up. And because it was a secondary pre-order that was not canceled by, by us, it was entirely independent, I wound up getting a second Steelbook, which is a big win for me. So, once again, we're going to do a quick comparison here. The cover art is, of course, generally similar. You can see that from here. I'll hold them up side by side in a moment. But, of course, the back has, of course, the Doomslayer and a whole lot of writing and information on it and that sort of thing. And as such, it's cluttered. I'm sure since this is actually a deluxe edition and has the DLC information over here on the right-hand side, that it would be different. Yeah, the Doomicorn. We'll talk about the Doomicorn in just a moment. Okay, so let's pick this bad boy up. All right, so you again have the actual art being behind that plastic film, which causes a rippling and distortion of the actual image, versus the Steelbook, where it's very bright, it's all uniform in that consistency, and you have that nice big open expanse. But here's where it really differs for Doom. and as why steelbooks are a big win in my opinion. So there's your case artwork. Here is the steelbook artwork in expanded format. You have this one giant picture. And okay, I'll try to pull it. There we go. They can see the whole thing now. So the actual picture artwork combined in like one giant portrait is an absolutely amazing piece of artwork with a whole lot of detail to it. And it does a whole lot of justice to the Doom lore. Okay. Now I saved this one for last.
It's the best.
Alright. So we have Monster Hunter World here. Now, we do have this on the PlayStation as well, but I didn't really see a point of bringing out both cases when we only have the one steelbook this particular time around, or comparing the Xbox to the PlayStation version for the cover art. Now, Monster Hunter World, its cover art is actually pretty complicated. You've got a Rathalos here. You actually have a hunting team, and this is actually the field leader from the actual game. It's all very, very highly detailed. It's a really nice piece of artwork. And of course, because of the plastic film, sorry about that, and the layout of the back, while it's great screenshots and so forth, it all suffers from the same things that most game covers have just accepted from years and years of doing it. So then we get to the actual steelbook. Now, the reason the steelbook, for me, is favorited in this collection is because the steelbook itself is completely different from the actual artwork. However, if you really get to looking at it, and let's see if I can do it this way. You still have the archer character. That's her. There's the bow. You still have the field commander, and here is his massive sword, along with the teeth along the back, which, if you look, that spike right there that's very clear, that's the field leader. Now, you have this person that appears to be the hammer user, but the hammer user is not in this one. You actually have a gunner down here. So they changed the cover completely. But if you're familiar with the Monster Hunter World game, the Rathalos is kind of like an armor check or a storyline checkpoint about halfway through, or like 30% of the way through the first part of the game. And Nergigante is a huge checkpoint and like plagues your character throughout the entire storyline. So this is kind of like your team has become better and is going after a bigger monster. And so the cover art from the actual set to the actual steelbook kind of tells a story to me as a player. Of course, instead of continuing the art on the back, they kind of went with some of the stuff that Capcom did with the Resident Evil ones, which is a stylized logo, a name of the game, and very, very simple. So those are my steelbooks for the basics. Hopefully I've made my case very, very clear. Let's get in real close to Nerg here. Look how detailed that is. You see the individual scales, the spikes. You can actually even see the pupil in Nerg's eye right there. It's an absolutely gorgeously done steel cover. Including, matter of fact, right there, there's another hunter. I actually missed this, I wasn't looking. But that right there's a fourth hunter coming in on a wyvern carrier. Yes, Callie?
Steel cases, in my opinion, are a lot better than the actual cases.
Okay. So why don't you come over here and speak slowly to the camera and tell them why you like the steelbooks, and I'm going to bust out the creme de la creme and my reason for the best done steelbook.
The reason why I like steelbooks more is because you get this like picture here that if you open it, you get this whole picture here, and that's basically on almost every steel case that I've seen in my life. But the steel cases, in my opinion, are better because they're a lot shinier and stuff. Because I don't know why, but I really like steel cases because they're shinier and they're a lot tougher than the regular cases. The regular cases are just made out of plastic with a plastic wrap around it, but the steel cases themselves are made out of metal. Very, like, sort of thick metal. The inside is plastic. What I think is that when a steel case is there, water can't go through the steel case because it's made of metal and plastic.
Can you hold the box?
not been opened. Oh, yes it has. I feel stupid dumb right now. I thought it was never open because it looks never open.
That's because it took care of it. Alright, so this is the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity Collector Set.
Stones.
Of course,
stones for
this
sure.
is the Infinity Stones. I don't have the batteries in there. They actually light up when you open the hinge here, and while it doesn't look like they have very much definition, if you got really close, you can see they're actually rippled on the inside of the plastic, which creates an uneven lighting effect, and it actually pulses. And moreover, personally, these are shaped more like the classic Infinity Stones from back in like the arcade Marvel Infinity War, or even the original comic book series before they really started taking on the appearance of gemstones. But before I get to the steel case, let me show you this collector set. You have, of course, Mega Man X, mainstay for Capcom.
I really want to play with these now.
They're not action figures.
I know.
And then, of course, from Marvel, you get Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. And why can't I just do a dang video?
Can you move them?
No, they're not action figures, and
I already said this. If you could. That's curious. Okay? Which I think every character...
That right there.
Alright, so we have come to the final point here. Sorry for the video jump, but I thought this might be a better way to execute it, because I'm going to show you the actual collector set before we get to the steelbook. Now, let me remove them. Breaking the rules, not supposed to pick the figures up. Okay, so this is the Infinity Gem set. It came with the box of the 6 Infinity Gems. Now, of course, some people were not happy because they look like Easter eggs. To me, they look like the old arcade Infinity Gems, or actually from the original comic book before they actually became faceted gems like you see in the more modern age. The inside of the plastics, if you look really closely to them, I don't know if you can see them, the insides are actually rippled and modeled, so they actually come through with distorted light as they pulse. I don't have any batteries right now, but they basically turn on and off as you actually open and close the lid. Now, setting those aside, we have, of course, the lead character of Capcom from the get-go, real old man, Mega Man X here. The actual figures themselves are very, very well done. They're massive in size.
He's shooting the camera.
Yeah, he's shooting the camera. If you actually get in close, you can see knuckle articulation within the actual fingers. The face is actually detailed. Details inside the actual earpiece of the helmet here. The figures are very, very well done. Going to the Marvel side of things, we have Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel. Again, very well made figure. You get in close, you can actually see, it's tough to see. Let me see if I can focus the camera a little bit. There we go. There is actually detailed, not articulation, but texture inside the actual suit. There's small like ribs across the entire material, save for when you get the scarf, which is actually smooth, and the boots are actually smooth here. Detailed in regards to the hair. The facial features are actually fairly well done, but the actual texture is the winning part there. And of course, the leading lady of Capcom, Detective Chun-Li herself, another really well done figure. Now, I'll admit some of the more modern Chun-Li's have her with absolutely huge leg muscles. I don't like that over-exaggeration of the leg muscles. This is a more classic look for Chun-Li. I like this much more. But the actual sash here, let me get in close, reset the focus. There you go. The actual sash actually has detailed dragon print all the way around it. It's very well done. Ripples and textures inside the actual fabric and the shoulder palms. The hair in between the actual pom-poms here, very textured and detailed. Generally speaking,
We need Batman.
overall, Batman's in the wrong comic book line, sweetie.
I mean, we need Batman for a joke.
And of course, the second statue to come from Marvel, the Iron Avenger himself, Tony Stark, the Iron Man. Yes, Callie.
Dun dun dun. What's the password? Iron Man sucks. Hey!
What?
It's in the movie.
What?
The Lego Batman movie.
Lego Batman movie. The password to the Batcave is Iron Man sucks. Gotcha.
What's the password? Iron Man sucks. I do not suck.
Oh, gracious. All right, but again, his is, of course, this is metal plate armor and all that good stuff, so it's very smooth. You get actual, like, small studs and rivets right around the actual edges, but you don't have that small detailed texture like some of the other figures. But overall, the small lines, the plates slitting together, these are all actually very well crafted figures that came with it. But this is actually not about the collector set. This is about the steelbook. Now, I found the sleeve to my steelbook in my attic, 2 to 3 stories away from the actual game itself. Now, why is this actually a win? Well, let me show you. The steelbook itself does not have some of my favorite features, as in a giant run-on piece of art. I mean, technically it does because the back runs on the overall background, but you really just have Ultron Sigma here in regards to him having the 2 Power Stones and merging with, I believe, Sigma from the actual Mega Man series and so forth. So it's by far not like the Monster Hunter cover or the Anthem cover in its overall detail, even though if you get in really close, there is a lot of detail put into Ultron Sigma himself in the various areas. But the reason this by far is, I think, the best execution is how I think things should be done. They managed to include all the busyness of the back, showcasing the game footage and all the game requirements and that sort of thing. And of course, you have all of the branding for the console, the developer, you know, all that stuff, including the ESRB ratings. But it's a sleeve that could actually just come off of the steelbook and maintain the pristine, full artwork. And I would love to see more of this, where you have the game case and then you have a sleeve that would actually showcase all the basic information that would be needed for a consumer, but it doesn't actually interfere with the actual artwork itself. That's why I think this is the best execution. And I'll be honest, if Intellivision, or someone from Intellivision, or Tommy Tellerico is checking this out, if you guys ever get steelbooks for any of the physical merchandise that you guys are going to do, physical media you're going to do, let me know, because I will pick one up. So there you have it. A good solid steelbook comparison and representation with an assistance of Lady Calicorn, and unfortunately a few other disruptions. Here we go, Infinity Gems again. Wah! I really should get batteries for it.
On the inside, it looks like there's actually water on the inside.
Yes, there's a nice ripple texture on the inside of those, sweetie. All the best, people. Stay foxy. Hey, Anthony, I'm back. One last thing. I forgot to make some comments about Streets of Rage when I was showcasing the artwork earlier. Let me focus in here. So, I noticed a couple of funny things in the game, and I'm not really sure if anybody else caught them. So I wanted to share those real quick and give a quick shout on what will be coming next for the channel. First and foremost, the simplest one to describe is there's a area where you're fighting on top of the rooftops. And there's a particular character called Big Ben, which is a huge guy in red coveralls and a white shirt and so forth. And if you look at a specific area in the background, there's a clothesline that's up. It's got a pair of the red coveralls, some white gloves, and the red hat. Looks very reminiscent of a Mario outfit. And considering he's a big fat guy that runs around and spits fire in red and white, coveralls, that made me chuckle. However, I don't know if anybody else got the same feeling I did. Level 2 in the police precinct, I thought it was kind of maybe a little bit of a creative Easter egg of sorts. So there's a number of police officers, obviously, in the precinct. You have the commissioner, who is an old guy with a little white mustache and wears, khaki pants and a white button-down shirt, reminiscent of, say, Commissioner Gordon. But then you get to the actual police officers. Now, there's one that happens to have like a photon or an energy shield, and it does look like the one that's driving the car. But his name is Murphy, and it reminded me that that the name of RoboCop is Murphy, and he wears the same kind of like face shielded helmet and uses future technology and that sort of thing in a certain sense. So I wondered if that was a coincidence or if that was deliberate. But then you get to the cop that's wearing the yellow shirt, and his name is Dick. And that reminded me of Dick Tracy, a private detective who wears a yellow jumpsuit. And then, of course, then there is the police officer in the game that's named Barney, which reminded me of Barney Fife, who is a lovable character from a very old TV show. And I wasn't sure if anybody else caught that same kind of theme, or if that was just me. But Streets of Rage is a great game. For me, it's Game of the Year quality. And it's really faithful to the original origin. Well worth the fun. I appreciate your time. I hope you enjoyed the showcasing. Yes, there was a lot of disruptions and so forth for it. I find that that's kind of normal part of my life nowadays. And for the channel, the next thing that will be coming up, let me hold it here, is as soon as I can find a safe place to put these little guys, we're going to start hatching and growing Triops. All the best.